السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. My name is Aula Arif, teaching assistant in Faculty of Commerce English section. Today I'm going to illustrate chapter 4, which is income statement and related information. Our objectives are: number 1, understanding the uses and limitation of an income statement. Number 2, understanding the content and format of the income statement. 3, prepare an income statement. 4, explain how to report items in the income statement. Number 5, identify where to report earnings per share information. Number 6, prepare a written earnings statement. Let's start by number 1. First, what is the income statement? The income statement is the report that measures the success of a company's operation for a given period of time. It is also often called the statement of income or statement of earnings. The business and investment community uses the income statement to determine profitability, investment value, and creditworthiness. It provides the investors and the creditors with the information that help them predict the amounts, timing, and uncertainty of the future cash flows. What are the uses and limitations of the income statement? The uses of the income statement: number 1, it helps the users of a financial statement to evaluate the past performance of the company. طب ازاي الانكم statement بتعمل كده؟ الانكم statement بتexamine the revenues and expenses. So examining the revenues of these revenues and expenses indicates how a company perform. Number 2, it provides a basis for predicting the future performance. ازاي برضو؟ لما income statement provide information about the past performance، ده بيساعد the users to expect the future performance. Number 3, it helps assess the risk or uncertainty of achieving the future cash flows. Information the income statement provide about the revenues, expenses, gains, and losses، دي highlights the relationship among them. So it helps us to assess the risk of not achieving a particular cash flow in the future. Then, limitations of the income statement: number 1, companies omit items from the income statement that they cannot measure its reliability. For example, the company may not record the unrealized gains and losses on a certain investment securities when there is an uncertainty that it will ever realize the change in value. يعني لو الكمباني شاكة وعندها شك انها مش هتجمع realized gain ده، هي ممكن ما تحطوش في الانكم statement عشان هي ما عندهاش measurement للreliability بتاعته. طيب number 2, income numbers are affected by the accounting method employed. ازاي؟ For example, لما company may use different methods to calculate depreciation. company ممكن تستخدم straight line method، company ممكن تستخدم double declining method. فالتو methods بتختلف، ممكن يبقى هما الاتنين ثابتين في كل الايتمز الأخرى، لكن بسبب using different methods of depreciation النت income هيختلف من شركة لشركة. Number 3, the income measurement involves judgment. Then, the quality of the earnings. The quality of the earnings is important. ليه؟ أكيد لما يكون عندنا ال earnings بتاعة الماركت بتاعتنا is qualitative، الماركت هي based on the reliability and trust. So ايه طيب المشكلة؟ احنا عندنا مشكلة ان ال companies have incentive to manage the income to meet the earnings target or make the earnings look less risky. So they make something called earnings management. طب ايه ال earnings management ده؟ It is the planned timing of revenues, expenses, gains and losses to smooth out the earnings. So earnings management negatively affect the quality of the earnings if it distorts the information in a way that is less useful for predicting the cash flow and future earnings. Objective number 2, understanding the content and format of the income statement. هنا احنا محتاجين نعرف ايه الايتمز او ايه الكونتنتس of the income statement وهنعمل ازاي الانكم statement. The income statement summarizes the transactions that results from revenues, expenses, gains and losses transactions. This method of income measurement is called the transaction approach. It focuses on the income related activities that have occurred during the periods. طيب ايه هي main elements of the income statement? We have two major elements of the income statement which are income and expenses. What is the income? Income هي any increases in economic benefits during the accounting period in the form of inflows or enhancements of assets or decreases of liabilities that results in increases in equity other than those relating to contributions from shareholders. This definition includes both revenues such as sales, interest, dividends, and gains such as gains on the sale of assets. On the other hand, expenses here any decreases in economic benefits during the accounting period in the form of outflows or depletion of assets or incurrence of liabilities that result in decreases in equity other than those relating to distributions to shareholders. This definition includes both expenses such as depreciation, rent, salaries, and losses such as losses related to sale of long-term assets. طيب ايه هي immediate components of the income statement? The income statement includes some of the subtotals within the income statement to arrive a net income or loss, such as the gross profit, income from operation, income before income tax, and income from continuing operation. يبقى احنا عرفنا ان المين ايتمز of الانكم ستيتمنت هي الانكم والاكسبنسز. الانكم ستيتمنت بتقوم على ان انا بفرق او بحسب الفرق ما بين كل الانكم اي انفلوز جايالي والاكسبنسز اي اوتفلوز رايحه مني. ليه؟ عشان احسب النت انكم بتاعي. طيب عشان اعمل كده انا بستخدم items او subtotals such as حاجة اسمها gross profit, income from an operation, income from before income tax and so on. ده شكل الانكم ستيتمنت او ديت الايتمز inside the income statement. Number 1 is sales or revenue section. السيلز it provides او احنا عندنا sales revenues بيحتوي على discounts, allowances, return and other information. انا ببقى محتاجة net sales, ببقى محتاجة اعمل السيلز او total sales minus any sales discount or any sales allowances or returns to get a net sales. Number 2 هي cost of goods sold section. The cost of goods sold section shows the cost of goods sold to produce the sales. ايه الكوست بتاعي عشان اعمل السيلز بتاعتي ديت, عشان اعمل البرودكتس ديت to be sold. السيلز minus الكوست of goods sold will get الجروس profit. يبقى الجروس profit ده هو revenues less الكوست of goods sold, او net sales less الكوست of goods sold. The next item is the selling expenses. Selling expenses هي any expenses resulting from the company's effort to make sales. Then administrative or general expenses. Administrative or general expenses هي any expenses of administration, أي تكاليف على الإدارة أو إدارية. Number 5 other income and expenses. Any other item or transaction that do not fit the information of the revenues and expenses categories provided above. يعني أي income أو expenses مش خاصة بالselling expenses أو administrative expenses أو خاصة بالrevenues بتاعة operation. gross profits minus all these parts هيخليني أو هيديني income from operations اللي هي income اللي results from normal operation بتاعنا. Then عندنا في financing costs ده separate item that identify the financing cost of the company. financing cost أو income from operation minus financing costs ديت هيديني income before income tax. Then I will deduct income tax to get income from continuing operation. And then we have another part اللي هو discontinued operation هي gains or losses resulting from the disposition of component of a company. Then I will get the net income. ده شكل income statement ده أوضح. net sales minus cost of goods sold to get gross profit minus selling expenses, administrative expenses, other income and expenses to get income from operations. Then I will deduct interest expense to get income before income tax minus income tax to get net income for the year. net income دوت هو attributable to shareholders of main company و non-controlling interests. بعد كده أنا بحسب حاجة اسمها earning per share. طيب هو جه موضح لي ايه زي ايه selling expenses دي. ايه selling expenses دي؟ اتفقنا ان selling expenses ديت هي any expenses that results from sales بتاعتنا. اي expenses خاصة بالسيلز اللي في الشركة زي ايه؟ زي sales salaries and commissions, sales office salaries, travel and entertainment, advertising expenses, delivery expenses, shipping supplies and expenses, and so on. أي expenses خاصة بالسيلز بتاعتي أو بالسيلز person هي selling expenses. وعلى عكس أي expenses خاصة بالإدارة administrative expenses هي تبقى expenses اسمها administrative. طيب chapter objective number 4 explaining how to report the items in the income statement. First gross profit. ايه هو gross profit ده؟ gross profit it is computed by deducting the cost of goods sold from net sales. وعرفنا ان net sales ده هو عبارة عن ايه؟ هو total sales minus any sales discount or return and allowances to get net sales. The reporting of the gross profit provides a useful number for evaluating the performance and predicting the future earnings. The statement readers may study the trend in the gross profit to understand how the competitive pressure affected the profit margin. يبقى the gross profit ده هو عبارة عن net sales minus the cost of goods sold. وهو بيدينا رقم، بيدينا فايدة ان احنا بنقدر نعمل evaluating للperformance و predicting future earnings. بنقدر ان احنا نتوقع ال earnings اللي في المستقبل او الارباح او الايرادات في المستقبل. Then income from operations. Income from operations is computed by deducting selling and administrative expenses as well as other income and expense from gross profits. It highlights items that affect regular business activities. In addition, it is often used to predict the amount, timing, and uncertainty of future cash flows. The income from operation أنا بطرح all the other selling أو all the expenses اللي خاصة بيا، ولو في اي income خاص بيا كمان هزوده عشان اجيب ال gross profit from the gross profit، عشان اجيب ال income from ال operations. ايه هي ال expenses او ال expenses عملوا لها classification ازاي؟ Companies are required to present an analysis of the expenses classified either by the nature or their function. First, the nature of the expense methods. The nature of the expense methods هي expenses such as the cost of the materials used, direct labor incurred, delivery expenses, advertising expenses, employee benefit, depreciation expenses, and amortization expenses. It is simply to apply because allocation of the expense to different functions are not necessary. While the function of the expense method, the expenses such as the cost of goods sold, selling expenses, and administrative expenses, it is considered more relevant because this method identifies the major cost driver of the company. بنعتمد ان احنا بنجيب ال cost driver of the company and therefore helps users assess whether these amounts are appropriate for the revenue generated or not. Gains and losses. The IASB, International Accounting Standard Board, takes the position that both revenues and expenses and other income and expenses should be reported as a part of the income from the operations. The companies can provide additional line items, headings, and subtotals when such presentation is relevant to an understanding of the entity's financial performance. يعني الكومباني ممكن انها provide information أخرى غير اللي موجودة عندنا عشان توضح أكتر يعني تخلي أو تسهل understanding of the entity's financial performance. The IFRS indicates additional items that may need disclosure on the income statement to help users predict the amount and timing and uncertainty of the future cash flow. يعني IFRS كمان indicates that disclosure is important عشان بيساعد الناس أكتر أو users أكتر إن هم يعملوا predicting للfuture cash flows. طيب زي ايه ال items ديت؟ زي gains or losses on the disposal of the items، زي مثلا plant, property, equipment. Income before income tax. The income before income tax is computed by deducting the interest expense, often referred to as financing costs, from the income from the operations. يبقى ال income before income tax هو deducting أو عبارة عن ال income from the operation minus ال interest expenses. ال interest expenses ديت هي اسمها أو ممكن تتسمى ال financing costs. Under the IFRS companies, companies must report their financing costs on the income statement to differentiate between a company's business activity and its financing activities. عايزين نفرق ما بين how it uses the capital to create value and how it obtains the capital. The next item is a net income. A net income is computed by deducting the income tax from the income before the income tax. تاني, it is computed by deducting the income tax from the income before the income tax. It represents the income after all revenues and expenses for the period are considered. It is viewed by many as the most important measure of the company's success or failure for a given period of time. يبقى net income هو يعتبر أو يعني ناس كتير بتشوف إن هو the most important measure، هو اللي بيقولي إن كانت الكومباني ديت هي نجحت ولا ما نجحتش في خلال الفترة اللي فاتت ديت. هو أكتر measure واضح او اكتر رقم واضح يقول لي الفرق ما بين ال revenues وال expenses بعد ما انا اخدت او غطيت كل ال expenses بتاعتي، ايه ال income اللي داخلي. طيب النت income دوت محتاج او هوزعه على مين؟ لازم اعمل allocation to حاجة اسمها non-controlling interest. non-controlling interest ده او sometimes referred to as the minority interest is the portion of the equity or net assets interest in the subsidiary not attributable to the parent company. It is represented by shareholders who are not part of the controlling groups. The IFRS requires that net income be allocated to the controlling and non-controlling interests. لازم أوضح أو لازم أعمل allocation ل both controlling and non-controlling interests. This allocation is reported at the bottom of the income statement after net income. The fifth objective is identifying where to report the earnings per share information. ايه هو اصلا ال earning per share ده؟ ال earning per share is the most أو is considered as the most significant business indicator. It is computed as the net income minus the preference dividends اللي هي minus the preference dividends divided by the weighted average of the ordinary shares outstanding. The earning per share measures the number of dollars earned by each ordinary share. It does not represent the dollar amount paid to the shareholders in the form of dividends. بصورة توضيحية net earning per share هو عبارة عن net income minus preference dividends over the weighted average of the ordinary shares outstanding to get the earning per share. Then the discontinued operation. ايه discontinued operation? The IASB defines a discontinued operation as هي component of an entity that either has been disposed of or is classified as held for sale. The companies report as discontinued operation يعني ايه ال items to be reported as a discontinued operation. طبعا discontinued operation is reported in a separate income statement category. طيب ايه ال items to be considered as discontinued operation? Number 1, the gain or loss from a disposal of a component of a business. Number 2, the results of operation of a component that has been or will be disposed of separately from continuing operation. Number 3, the effect of the discontinued operation net of a tax as a separate category after continuing operations. The last objective, how to prepare a retained earnings statement. A retained earnings increases by any increasing in the net income. طيب retained earnings بتقل بإيه أو decrease by إيه؟ decrease by any net loss أو any cash or share dividends. In addition, the changes in the accounting principles and the prior period adjustments may increase or decrease retained earnings على حسب التشينج اللي حصل او على حسب الادجستمنت اللي حصلت في البارير periods. انا بقول انا increase or decrease the retained earnings. A retained earnings statement helps to reconcile the balance of the retained earnings account from the beginning to the end of the year. يبقى احنا عرفنا ايه في الشابتر كله. المفروض ان كده الشابتر خلص. اهم حاجة عرفناها ان ايه هي الانكم ستيتمنت. عرفنا ان هو بيريبورت بيقيس او بيميجر ال success of the operation of the company's operation for a given period of time. بيقول لي مدى نجاح الشركة في وقت من الزمن او في الفترة من الزمن اللي انا بقيس فيها الانكم ستيتمنت ده. وطبعا الانكم ستيتمنت ديت هي مهمة ازاي في انها بتdetermine البروفيتابيليتي والانفستمنت فاليو، بتقولي البروفيتابيليتي بتاعت الشركة عاملة ازاي، الانفستمنت فاليوز اللي الشركة عندها عبارة عن ايه، والكريدت worthiness of the company. عرفنا ايه اليوزز والليميتيشنز of الكومباني ديت، او سوري ايه اليوزز and the limitation of الانكم ستيتمنت، عرفنا الفرق ما بينهم. then we know او عرفنا ايه هو ال earnings management، وعرفنا قد ايه ان ال earnings management دوت هو شيء سيء، لانه ازاي الشركة بتتلاعب بالريفينيوز بتاعتها وبالاكسبنسز بتاعتها عشان تبان ان هي افضل وتبان الايرنينجز بتاعتها احسن، فبالتالي الناس تيجي تشتري منها شيرز او تيجي تنفست فيها اكتر. لكن طبعا هي الانفورميشن ديت هي انفورميشن غلط، هي الشركة غلطت فيها او عملتها غلط عشان تستفاد. then ايه عرفنا ايه الكونتنتس او ايه الفورمات of the income statement. المين two elements of the income statement عرفنا ان هما الانكم والاكسبنسز، عرفنا ال definitions of each item. then شوفنا ايه هو الفورمات of the income statement، تبدأ بالنت سيلز minus the cost of goods sold to get the gross profit minus the selling administrative expenses and any other income or expenses to get الانكم from الاوبريشن. الانكم from الاوبريشن ديت بطرح منها الانترست expense to get الانكم before الانكم tax minus الانكم tax to get النت income. النت income دوت هو attributable to the shareholders of the company و non-controlling interest. عرفنا ايه الفرق ما بين ال selling expenses وال administrative expenses. then we explained ايه ال items inside ال income statement such as ال gross profit. ال gross profit ده عرفنا ان هو بي provide useful number for evaluating the performance and predicting the future earnings. then we got ال income from ال operations، عرفنا هو ايه ال computations بتاعته. then ال expenses and its classification اللي هي nature of the expense و function of the expense. then ال gains and losses وازاي بنعمل لها reporting. then ال income before ال income tax، ايه ال computations بتاعتها وازاي ال IFRS ألزمت ال companies ان هي to report ال financing costs بتاعتها. then we got the net income، والnet income دوت قلنا ان هو عبارة عن ال income before ال income tax minus ال income tax، واتفقنا ان هو viewed by the most users او ان هو important matter of the company. then we got ايه هي non-controlling interest وازاي احنا لازم نوزع ل non-controlling interest زي ال controlling part. then عرفنا ايه هو ال earning per share. ال earning per share ده هو عبارة عن ال net income minus ال preference dividends divided by the weighted average of the ordinary shares، واتفقنا ان هو measures the number of dollars earned by each ordinary share. هو بيقول لي قد ايه number of dollars earned by كل share، قد ايه كسب او قد ايه جاب لي number of dollars. then ايه هي ال discontinued operations، وعرفنا ايه ال items اللي داخل تعتبر discontinued operations. then we learned how to prepare retained earnings. retained earnings انا بطرح منها او بزود عليها اي net income، بطرح منها اي net losses or cash and share dividends، واي changes in the accounting principles او period adjustments انا بشوف يا ترى هي بتزود او بتقلل ال retained earnings. ده ال statement او example for statement of ال retained earnings. بس ببدأ ب retained earnings at January 1 as reported. بعد كده بعمل عليها أو ببدأ بالcorrections any adjustments in the prior period adjustments. يعني for example هنا عندنا correction for understatements of net income in a prior period. أنا مثلا فترة فاتت عملت understatement للnet income, so I have to add them. I have to add this understatement. ليه؟ النت انكم بتاعي انا غلطت فترة فاتت وبدل ما اعمله 100,000 انا عملته 50,000. يعني انا غلطت وعملت understatement، يعني قللت من الانكم ستيتمنت بتاعتي ب50,000. لما اجي اصلحها هعمل لها ايه؟ هعمل لها addition ولا هعمل لها هطرحها من المبلغ او هطرحها من ال retained earnings؟ لا اكيد هزودها. so هعمل addition للcorrection of the understatements and then got retained earnings as adjusted. Then I will add any net income and deduct any cash dividends or share dividends موجودة عندي to get retained earnings في December 31. Let's start solving problem 4-5 عشان نعرف اكتر ايه الايتمز هنحلها ازاي. problem 4-5 the following account balances were included in the trial balances of Twain Corporation at June 30, 2015. مديني الايتمز sales revenues, sales discounts, cost of goods sold, salaries and wages expenses, sales commission, travel expenses, delivery expenses, entertainment, telephone and internet expenses وموضح لي ان هي خاصة بالسيلز. depreciation expenses وموضح لي برضو ان هي خاصة بالسيلز. maintenance and repairs expense, miscellaneous sales expense, supplies expenses, telephone and internet expenses وموضح لي ان هي خاصة بالadministration. depreciation expense وقايل ان هي office furniture and equipment. property tax expense, bad debt expense وقايل ان هي خاصة بالselling. maintenance and repairs expenses قايل ان هي خاصة بالadministrations. office expenses, sales return and allowances, dividends, revenues, interest expense, income tax expense. then depreciation عندي understatement due to an error in 2013. dividends declared on the preference shares و dividends declared on ordinary shares. then قايل لي ان retained earnings account had a balance of 337,000 at July 1, 2014. There are 80,000 ordinary shares outstanding. The instruction prepare an income statement and retained earnings for the year ended June 30, 2015. طيب to start developing the income statement أول حاجة لازم نبدأ بيها هي ايه؟ هي revenues أو total sales اللي عندي. ايه هي sales revenues اللي موجودة عندي؟ الايتمز هنا sales revenues ب1,578,500 اكيد هحطها as total sales او total sales revenues. طيب minus any sales discounts return or allowances. طب انا عندي يا ترى عندي موجود في الايتمز عندي sales discounts ب31,150 واحنا لما قرينا لقينا ان في هنا sales return and allowances ب62,300. so هقول التوتال سيلز اللي هو 1,578,500 less أو minus any sales discount اللي هو 31,150 minus sales return and allowances اللي هو 62,300. sales revenues less sales discounts and sales returns هيديني النت sales يبقى 1,578,500 minus 93,450 هيديني net sales ب1,485,050. طيب النت سيلز بعمل منها ايه او بطرح منها ايه to get الجروس بروفيت؟ بطرح منها الكوست اوف جودز سولد، وهو مديني الاكاونت اوف الكوست اوف جودز سولد على طول. مديني الكوست اوف جودز سولد اللي هو 896,770. ادي رقم of الكوست اوف جودز سولد. so قلت النت سيلز minus الكوست اوف جودز سولد will get الجروس بروفيت اللي هو 588,280. يبقى انا حسبت الجروس بروفيت ازاي؟ حسبته قلت انه النت سيلز minus الكوست اوف جودز سولد عشان يديني الجروس بروفيت. طيب الجروس بروفيت ده هقول minus السيلينج اكسبنسز. طب ايه يا ترى السيلينج اكسبنسز من الايتمز ديت؟ تعالوا نعدي على ايتم نقول ان كان selling or administrative. طيب احنا خلصنا sales revenue, sales discount, cost of goods sold خلاص. salaries and wages expenses وهو قايل لي ان هو خاص بالسيلز. اول لما اشوف ان هي خاصة بالسيلز او salaries or wages expenses of a sales persons يبقى ده خلاص على طول selling expenses. يبقى ده first item of the selling expenses. sales commission. السيلز كوميشن عندنا هو اكيد selling expenses. sales commission هي الكوميشنز اللي بديها للسيلز بيرسونز كل ما يزودوا الانكم بتاعهم. يبقى اكيد السيلز كوميشن ديت هي expense عليا من السيلينج بارت. then الترافل expenses وقايل لي ان هو خاصة بالسيلز بيرسونز. طالما sales يبقى دي عبارة عن selling expenses. ما اقدرش اقول ان هي ديت administrative expenses. ليه؟ لان هو قال لي ان هي خاصة بالسيلز، هو محدد لي حتى. طيب delivery expenses. ايه delivery expenses ديت؟ الاكسبنسز اللي خاصة بالمودي بيها البضاعة للراجل او للبضاعة لليوزر اللي هو محتاجها. ف delivery expenses ديت هي اكيد sales expenses. then entertainment expenses ديت هي عموما بتبقى expenses خاصة بالسيلز برضو بالسيلز persons. so entertainment expenses ديت هي sales expenses. then telephone and internet expenses وقايل لي between brackets ان هي خاصة بالسيلز so هتبقى على طول sales expenses. depreciation expenses خاصة بالسيلز equipment. sales طالما قال لي sales يبقى هي selling expenses على طول. لو موضح لي او هو قايل لي ان هي administration تبقى administration، لكن هنا البارت ده او الايتم ده هو قايل لي ان هو sales equipment so هي selling expenses. the next item maintenance and repairs expenses between brackets sales يبقى ده sales expenses also. then miscellaneous selling expenses قايل لي another miscellaneous يعني في كمان حبة selling expenses أخرى موجودين as miscellaneous. يبقى كل اللي فات ده كله عرفنا ان هو selling expenses. then we got supplies expenses. ايه supplies expenses ديت؟ supplies expenses ديت هي administrative expenses. هي expenses الخاصة بالsupplies بتاعة الoffice بتاعي. يبقى supplies expenses is administrative expenses. telephone and internet expenses administration. يبقى بما انه هو قايل لي ومحدد لي انها administration so ديت administrative expenses. the next item is depreciation expense between brackets office furniture and equipment. فهو محدد لي ان هي خاصة بالoffice. هي depreciation خاصة بالoffice بتاعي على طول تبقى administrative expenses. property tax expense. property tax expense على طول هو administrative expenses. bad debt expense ومحدد لي ان هي للselling so تبقى ايه؟ تبقى sales expense. maintenance and repairs expense between brackets administration so this item will be administrative expenses. office expenses من اسمها expenses خاصة بالoffice خاصة بالمكتب خاصة بالadministration so will be administrative expenses. sales return and allowances دي طبعا مش expenses. dividend revenues, interest expenses, income. كل الباقيين دول هما اكيد مش هعتبرهم as an expenses of الاوبريشن. يبقى احنا عرفنا لغاية دلوقتي نفرق ما بين selling expenses والadministrative expenses. لو selling expenses حاجات واضحة زي selling expenses زي ايه؟ زي sales commission, salaries and wages of sales persons, delivery expenses. كل الايتمز ديت هي واضحة as a selling expenses. الايتمز اللي مش واضحة ان كانت selling او administrative هو اكيد بيحدد لي ويقول لي دي خاصة بالسيلز او دي خاصة بالadministrative. يبقى انا حطيت الايتمز of selling expenses اللي هي sales commission عندي, salaries and wages expenses, travel expenses, delivery expenses, entertainment expenses, telephone and internet expenses خاصة بالسيلز, maintenance and repairs expense, depreciation expense, bad debt expense, and miscellaneous expense. All these items are selling expenses. جمع لي total 248,785. Then I excluded كمان أو عملت minus كمان للadministrative expenses زي ايه؟ administrative, maintenance and repairs expense, property tax expense, depreciation expense خاصة بالadministrative أو الoffice, supplies expense, telephone and internet expense والoffice expense عشان يديني total administrative costs أو expenses ب35,970. So التوتال administrative والتوتال selling expenses هيديني 284,755. طيب قال لي ان انا عندي other income and expenses. انا بدور بشوف هو في ترى other income and expenses. فبصينا لقينا ان في dividends revenues. dividends revenues ديت هو other income, هو income جايلي طريقة تانية اللي هو dividends 38,000. يبقى على طول هعمل له addition في ال part of ال other income and expenses 38,000. يبقى ال 588,000 اللي هي ال gross profit minus 284,755 plus ال 38,000 اللي هو other income هيديني ال income from ال operations. يبقى ال income from ال operations جبتها منين؟ قلت ال gross profit minus ال selling and administrative expenses minus or plus ال other income or expenses. وانا عندي other income ب38,000 فزودتها. so ال income from ال operation هيطلع عندكم ب341,525. طيب ال income from ال operations ده ازاي هوصل منه ال income before ال income tax؟ اتفقنا في الفورمات بتاعة ال income statement اللي انا بقول ال income from ال operation minus ال interest expenses. طب انا عندي interest expenses قايل لي ان في interest expenses ب18,000. so هحط ال interest expenses ب18,000 to get ال income before ال income tax. طيب income before income tax بطرح منه ال income tax to get ال net income بتاعي. طيب انا عندي يا ترى income before ال income tax expenses قايل ان هي ب102,000 جنيه. so انا عندي ال income tax 102,000. يبقى النت income عندي بقد ايه؟ ب221,525. طيب بعد ما وصلت للنت income انا لازم احسب ال earning per share. ال earning per share بحسبه ازاي؟ اتفقنا اللي هو النت income minus ال preference shares over ال weighted average of ال ordinary shares outstanding. يبقى احنا عندنا كده النت income خلاص جبناه minus ال preference shares وهو مديني ان ال dividends declared on the preference shares are 9,000 over ال weighted average of ال ordinary shares اللي هو 80,000 ordinary shares outstanding هو محددها لي. so ال 221,525 net income minus ال preference shares اللي هو 9,000 over ال weighted ordinary shares will get $2.66 earning per share. then هو بعد ما خلصنا الانكم ستيتمنت هو كان طالب مننا ان احنا نعمل returned earnings statement. طبعا لازم نستارت by the company name، اسم الستيتمنت، و for the year ended at June 30 2015. طبعا returned earnings بنبدأ اول حاجة بالاماونت الاصلي عندي او as reported اخر مرة. فهو قال لي ان returned earnings في جولاي 1 2014 as reported ب337,000. طيب ايه الايتم الزيادة؟ هو قايل ان انا عندي في depreciation under statements due to error في 2013 ب17,700. في error عندي انا depreciation expense او depreciation بدل ما اطرح منها التوتال انا عملت لها under statements ب17,700. طيب انا دلوقتي المفروض depreciation بيتعمل له deduction ولا addition؟ لا depreciation بيتعمل له deduction. طيب انا عملت له understatement. يعني ايه عملت له understatement؟ يعني بدل ما اقلل 100,000 انا قللت 50,000 بس. يبقى انا المفروض ايه الكوركشن بتاعه؟ هقلل 50,000 كمان ولا هزود 50,000 الايرور؟ لا اكيد لازم اقللهم، انا ما عملتش الديدكشن المطلوب مني. فهنا الايرور understatement للديبريشيشن ب17,700. انا نسيت اطرح ال17,700 دول. فايه الحل بتاعها؟ ايه الكوركشن بتاعها؟ اعمل لها deduction ولا اعمل لها addition؟ طبيعي خالص ان انا بما ان الديبريشيشن حصل له understatement فانا هعمل له another deduction. يبقى ال returned earnings as reported اللي هو 337,000 minus ال17,700 الcorrection to get returned earnings as adjusted ب319,300. add any net income or less any net loss. انا طبعا عندي هنا net income موجود عندي في الانكم statement، طلع لي net income ب221,525. so انا عملت له addition. less any dividends declared سواء cash or shares. انا عندي هنا قايل لي ان انا عندي two types of dividends on the preference shares on the ordinary shares، ومش محدد لي ان كان، يعني قايل لي ان هو 9,037,000 dividends declared on the ordinary shares. so عملت لها deduction to get returned earnings at June 30 2015. كده احنا خلصنا chapter 4. I hope ان انتوا تكونوا فهمتوا الشابتر، عرفتوا ايه الفرق ما بين الانكم ستيتمنت والستيتمنت of returned earnings، عرفتوا ازاي تعملوا each statement يعني بدقة. شكرا.